Hello indie game fans, yes, you did not click on the wrong video, since while I do love my indie games, believe it or not, I do keep an eye on and play the occasional bigger title, some worthy of commendation, others not so much. In conjunction with yesterday's video on the best indie games of the year, here are my top 15 not so indie games of 2020, but do be warned that the nostalgia glasses are in full effect here.
Got to get back.
I talked about Pumpkin Jack yesterday and mentioned that they don't quite make PS2 era 3D action platformers anymore, but Samurai Jack Battle Through Time was an exception and a true throwback title. Tapping on the popular cartoon, this licensed game from a Japanese developer was wonderfully old school in gameplay, providing a great nostalgic experience in more ways than one.
It's not over yet, Samurai.
I have nothing to fear.
The future is mine!
Put an end to suffering.
I do love my tactics games, and Othercide was an interesting entry, incorporating roguelite elements into this super stylish title. Similar to Star Renegades also mentioned yesterday, this has a timeline management system incorporated into its core design and combat, but as a tactics title which makes it quite clever and a no-brainer if you love this genre.
Everyone's biting off more than they can chew.
Maneater is just a silly fun action game where you play as a mega shark, swimming around eating fish, creatures, and of course humans, eventually getting silly upgrades and evolving to add armor plates, electrical shocks and more.
The food chain will be disrupted. And the drama will get deadly.
The camera can be a little finicky in this one and I'm not sure if they have fixed it, but if an open sea adventure where you basically destroy everything sounds good, then this should be up your alley.
Because down here, things always evolve. And the hunter becomes the hunted.
That's the one who took my hand, alright? Get yourself ready, boy.
I'm always a fan of developer Arc System Works from a distance, since they do make absolutely gorgeous fighting games, especially with the Guilty Gear series, and they have done it once again with Granblue Fantasy Versus. As expected, this really impresses with the look, actually being built in a 3D engine but plays like a 2D fighter, which enables them to do some impressive things with the camera angles. If there was a fighting game that I was to get into, this may just be the one, and it looks like it has its fair share of fans as well. World War I with mechs has been a popular theme recently, both in games and TV shows, which I think are somewhat inspired by the works of Simon Stellenhag, and Iron Harvest is exactly this. It's a company of heroes styled RTS, so you don't get villagers to harvest resources, and it's more about small squad tactics, but add in unique faction mechs and this makes it new once again. Super cool setting and I'm glad it found some traction. We do of course have to mention Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout, coming in at number 10, since it did take over the gaming world for a little bit and impresses because of that. While the whole marketing spiel touts it as a battle royale title, it's basically a multiplayer 3D platformer where you try to outrace and outlast your opponents. I just love how a whimsical game managed to capture the attention of so many without having to use video gaming things like guns and killing, and the Season 3 content just launched, so perhaps check it out if you have fallen off.
Galen's stronghold is once again under siege by a new group of demon slayers.
Japanese developer Inti Creates has made its fair share of good games over the years, with Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2 being a no-brainer. This is an action platformer, or classic-vania in many ways, shying away from the Metroidvania elements post-Symphony of the Night and looking further back for inspiration, with this being tied to Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. It's more of what we saw from the first game, but has new bosses, 3 new characters, and even co-op support, so you can get your old school fix with this. It's 8-bit excellent, looking so very impressive, and I think that it's cool how a larger developer is still making such games in 2020. I'll admit that I was skeptical when Gears Tactics was announced, since I did not know how a studio known for third-person action games would design a tactics title, but I'm glad that they did and managed to do an impressive job. Set before the events of the first Gears game, this has you once again hunting down the Locust, but being a prequel, you might know that things don't end up in a good place. Thinking about it, the cover shooter mechanics do have parallels in tactics games, which is why this works, but it gets on the board for thinking out of the box, and I'm hoping to see more cool, weird stuff from Xbox.
Rise and shine, don't wanna work, I'd rather play. Shake my hips and whip my hair, it's a new day. Magic will blow, my heart yells, let's go transform and fly away.
The Shantae series has always been a dependable franchise, never falling below 7 upon 10 for me, with Shantae and the 7 Sirens being their latest entry, fully launching in May following a strange half-release on Apple Arcade.
Super Pipe Ball! Drill Fusion!
It's more of the tried and tested formula, where our heroine has a number of animal forms that she can transform into, forming the core of the Metroidvania exploration. There is, however, a new collectible card system, which are items dropped from enemies, which can be equipped for additional bonuses, and overall is another solid entry for the franchise.
And fly away. We will dance through the danger until the world is saved. Can't stop me now 'cause I'm Shantae.
Another impressive title from a mid-sized studio is Deep Rock Galactic, a 4-player co-op first-person shooter where you play as space dwarves delving into caves to obtain resources. It appears that the dwarven stereotype of mining and gathering valuable resources has not changed even in space, but provides an awesome co-op experience akin to something like Left 4 Dead, and is really one of the best in the market right now, with constant content patches as well. What can I say about Demon's Souls? While I still do not have a PS5, I did kind of experience this game through coverage from other sites, YouTubers and streamers, and it looks like they have put in the work to truly remake this game, which is always nice. Many people attribute the popularity of the Souls series to this, at the time, obscure PS3 game, so the remake was a great way for everyone to experience this. Same stamina-based combat, same RPG elements and same challenging difficulty, on top of the core game which seems great. The technical aspect of this with instant loading is also very impressive. Streets of Rage 4 was conspicuously absent from yesterday's video since I had this video in mind. It's the latest entry from a long-running beat-em-up franchise and managed to beautifully capture the spirit of what made those games great while bringing it into a modern age. It has a ton of cheeky winks and nods to those classic games, going so far as to include all previous characters and retro sprites, and even bringing back some of the people that worked on the originals. It's crazy to think that the last entry in this franchise was 26 years ago, so if anyone has a long dormant series that they would like to see make a comeback, do leave it in the comments below.
Well, what shall we talk about?
It's 2020 and I, CLEMMYGAMES, still cannot believe that I'm giving an EA published title an award, but I have to hand it to the folks that made Command & Conquer Remastered Collection.
You're in for one hell of a ride.
This was my jam back in the day, being introduced to this series by my dad, and oh, the hours I spent with the original Red Alert playing both the skirmish mode and the Bonkers campaign. Since the demise of Westwood and the subsequent rise of Petroglyph, the work really was done for this, with remastered music, new graphics, touched up FMV and more, all in an easily accessible package on Steam. Daniel Dwyer and NoClip have an excellent documentary on this if you want to know more, and it's highly recommended watching.
Welcome back, Commander.
I was actually very pleased to see a distinct lack of "Where's Ori" type comments in yesterday's video, since it appears that you folks have learned that Moon Studios is a Microsoft first-party studio, so it's not indie, but despite the classification, Ori and the Will of the Wisps is a no-brainer. It's a gorgeous Metroidvania and is probably the strongest entry in the genre this year, combining interesting upgrades and great feeling platforming and combat. This improves upon many of the systems of Blind Forest, removing the place your own checkpoint thing for example, which made it a better game, so certainly pick this up if you have not.
Look, I'm involved in things. Dangerous things.
The title that amazed me the most in 2020 is Final Fantasy VII Remake, the mythical, long-in-development title that was announced during E3 2015 and I thought would never see the light of day, let alone be as fantastic as it is. Being a JRPG fan, FF7 is up there among my favorites, so to see it get that much love in modernizing it does warm my heart.
For money?
You gonna stand there and pretend you can't hear the planet crying out in pain? I know you can!
Yes, it does lose some of its charm without the turn-based combat, and it's incomplete in terms of the story, but the fleshed-out characters, actually allowing you to roam the streets of Midgar, and still retaining its goofier elements like the Honeybee Inn, does make this great.
Okay, that was pretty cool. You weren't thinking of leaving Midgar anytime soon, were you?
While I have no idea what they're going to do with the rest of the game, probably taking the entire PS5 life cycle to tell this story, what they accomplished with this alone is amazing, taking the #1 spot. To see more of the big picture, check out these awesome videos and I will see you after the jump.